Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Friday, September 29th. And the headlines are nice, comfortable fall-like conditions with 60s through the weekend. We had some rain overnight, anywhere from a trace to a quarter of an inch, so that was very welcome. And we expect temperatures to warm up next week into the 70s, maybe even in the low 80s. Later next week could be quite warm, but if the European breaks down the ridge like it's showing, that may change that outlook and we may not see quite as warm conditions, but it may bring a better chance of rain late next week. And both models indicate that there could be some substantial rains possibly later next weekend, not this weekend, but late next weekend, and we'll keep an eye on that as well. If we look at conditions around the area this morning, temperature is pretty uniform out there in the low to mid 50s, and that's due to all the cloud cover and some scattered showers in about the area. Doppler radar estimates indicating plenty of 2 3/10 inch rains across portions of the state, with at least a tenth over much of the area, and dry across far southeast lower Michigan, although a few scattered showers were coming through the area here during the last hour. You can see in Breckenridge it indicates about 0.2 tenths of an inch of rain. We actually have 1/1600ths of an inch of rainfall. You get over towards Middleton, it should be about a quarter to maybe 3/10 of an inch of rain. Their rain gauge doesn't show anything. We know we've got an issue with that. Either it's plugged at there in Henderson, or they've got a malfunction in the rain gauge. We'll have to have somebody look to see if those are just plugged up, and that may change some of the numbers as we go back to last month. We may have to use some Doppler radar estimates there. Newaygo picking up almost 4/10 of an inch of rain, lighter amounts across the area as well. And if we look at the radar this morning, you can see some of that shower and thunder shower activity moving off to the east. We actually had a couple flashes of lightning when I got up this morning, and then some pretty good showers across northeast lower Michigan. Some of these pinwheeling back around the area, so we can't rule out a shower here through the morning hours, but then I think we'll see plenty of sunshine move in for later on this afternoon. Latest Palmer Drought Index, you can see moderate drought conditions across parts of south central lower Michigan. Again, not a big change in the area. Most of the area extremely dry, and this little bit of rainfall we got not going to really do anything to alleviate that, but certainly will help with soybean moistures here if we get out back into harvesting later on this afternoon and this evening. If we look at the weather map this morning, you can see the front and the low pressure system responsible for the morning showers moving off to the east, and again it'll be replaced as this high pressure system moves right over the state as we get into Saturday. And that could lead to a pretty chilly night tonight across northern lower Michigan and parts of the upper Great Lakes, where there are some frost advisories in effect. And by Saturday or Sunday, that high pressure system will move off to the east. A return flow will begin, and that'll give us a nice warm up again. Sunday we may be up around 70, well into the 70s to around 80 for much of next week. And again, we'll watch for the late week system that could either continue the very warm conditions, or we could have a breakdown in it, and it could be a pretty strong fall storm that might bring the promise of some significant rains as we get into late next weekend. But again, that's plenty distance away. We'll keep the watch the trending models to see how they pan out. And if we look at the rainfall here over the next 10 days, the GFS shows some very significant rainfalls encroaching onto the area. But again, look at the difference between very little rainfall to very substantial rainfall. And again, we're going to have to really keep a close eye on where that ultimately lays out and how well the ridge holds up or if it breaks down. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, but again, you can see if it moves to the southeast very much of the area will get plenty of rainfall. But if it trends to stay back to the northwest, which many of the systems have over the last 4 to 6 weeks, we may see more dry conditions with very little rainfall. But again, this is at least a decently promising looking system as we get towards next weekend. And as far as the extended outlook, the continuation of the warm conditions looks like it'll continue for much of the eastern U.S. as we have a ridge in the east and a trough out west. But again, we may see this break down if the European is right. As far as precipitation, near to above normal, so we'll keep an eye on that. Again, the big system could be for late next weekend. As far as the forecast goes, you can see for today, morning showers will give way to lots of sunshine, highs in the mid 60s. That'll continue with the sunshine on Saturday in the 60s. We'll warm up a little bit on Sunday towards 70 degrees and then close to 80 degrees as we get into early next week. As far as weather watch this morning, there are some beach hazards for high winds and dangerous currents, rip currents, across portions of the Great Lakes shoreline, and then a large area of frost advisories for much of the upper Midwest as well, and Great Lakes, with Wisconsin, the UP, the Arrowhead of Minnesota, and interior sections of northern and lower Michigan. Looks like we could see temperatures drop into the low to mid 30s. Thanks for stopping by and have yourself a great day, a great weekend, and 73s to all.